start, I thought, let me read out a little bit of what we wanted to do this what the panel will be about. So the future of studying cinema feels like exciting and expansive. As the medium continues to evolve, film study is no longer confined to the darkened theaters and classical text. It stretches across streaming platforms, virtual reality, AI-generated storytelling, and global digital cultures. Students of cinema won't analyze narratives or camera angles. They'll explore how technology reshapes storytelling, how audiences interact differently with films, and how diverse voices find a space in one's tightly guarded industry. Now, what's beautiful in this is, even after all these changes, the heart of cinema study remains the same. Understanding human stories, emotions, and imagination through moving images. The tools, formats may shift, but the urge to connect through film, to reflect society, question it, and dream beyond it will always guide the way forward. So, with this premise, I wanted to take this panel. Actually, I would like to introduce the panel before we start this. We have Ashish Kulkarni ji from Mumbai, Pune, all over India actually. He recently in May, when the Waves conference happened in Mumbai, he presented a paper which was actually he had written in 2005, which came into reality, the Indian Institute of Creative Technology. Now we will have institutions which are on par with IIT and IIMs for creative technology, which is amazing that so many filmmakers are here, and today we are going that way forward. I really thank you, Ashish ji, for doing that for us. We have Piyush, Dr. Piyush from RV University, Media College. He's been the dean. When I went to his office that day, I saw him standing next to the Queen, and I asked him, did they give you a knighthood? And he said, not yet, so maybe one day it will come soon. We have Gaurav Trivedi, who's from UID, an animation expert, and thank you for joining from Gujarat. And of course, we have our mentor Prakash, who's been with us and will be with us. So, Ashish ji, I'm going to start with you. How do you foresee these advancement in technology reshaping film education and the curriculum design, especially with the new trends which are following?
Uh, you know, Historically and even today, when it comes to education, I never give importance to technology so much. People have differences with me on that issue. But the best education is about not more than two tools. If you're a writer, you don't require anything more than pen and a paper. If you're a sculptor, you don't require anything more than nail and hammer or clay and a stick. If you're a painter, you don't require anything more than paint and paintbrush. And if you can do wonders with that, you can do wonders with 5,000 types of strokes you can do in different softwares, and it allows you to do a whole lot of things. But learning softwares, you don't become an artist. If you're an artist, you can use the software more effectively, and that's not going to change. Second important thing that I realize in the education spectrum is that we need to understand, in the overhyped world of AI, the thing is, we are in the business of storytelling. We are about EI, not AI. We are about emotional intelligence, not about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an incidental thing that has happened today. 10 years down the line, probably it might not be there. Today you are recording things, you are looking into your cell phones. 5 years down the line, you might not have cell phones at all. You just wear the glasses and everything is there. So the issue is that an over-obsession of technology is not a good thing as far as education is concerned. To give you an example, you all must be experiencing right now that you're watching OTT platforms today. And no sooner a new season comes in, may it be 6 episodes or 10 episodes or 8 episodes, all of them about an hour long, but you want to finish it in the same day or at the most in 48 hours. It's because of emotional intelligence of the creator. It's nothing to do with technology. It's how they hold you with their acting, with their storytelling, with their setting of camera, the sets. So the foundation, according to me, will constantly remain. As long as you are strong with your foundation, nothing can move you. But if you get over obsessed with the technology, and then your education system shifts towards only trying to do that, you will see that your students will not last long into the industry. They will fall apart no sooner they have new challenges on the shop floor. So the education ecosystem has to have a right balance of both these things. You need to basically get them to adopt to the new technologies because the outputs are required from there. At the same time, many times we were discussing that the pre-visualization can happen best with the research of AI and many other ecosystems that are there. So you need to basically tell the students or teach the students how to be grounded, how to not lose focus on the grammar of storytelling, how to not deviate from the foundation, and how do you really adopt to every single scene that you create has to be immersive for the audience, and it has to make use of the right form of technology. May not be a single technology adopted everywhere. So what I'm seeing today is in the rush that people are wanting to, tick that I have taught so many softwares. What's going out, people don't know whether aesthetically it's correct or it is a good film or a bad film. Just that it has come out of AI and you just want to put there because today you can put anything on the YouTube, you can put anything on platforms. And then people think, and even parents and friends, they don't have too much of great expectation. They feel that their friend or son has done a great job by pulling out a film and put it onto YouTube. So when you appreciate somebody with a very low esteemed creativity and aesthetics, then that becomes a challenge for a storyteller. So those storytellers who actually make sure that when it comes to the education, you are imparting something which is more experiential for the students, and it is also more to do with the foundational programs. Their students are going to last long into the industry.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. Actually, I remember a small incident. We were doing a course on cinematography, and I'd gone to one of the media houses to discuss, and we were just gently talking and how we can collaborate. And he said, "Why don't you do an editing course?" I said, "You have so many editing people here. Why are you asking me?" He said, "They know the tools. I want you to teach them edit because they can't think about how to cut a film. They will only know how to use the tool. So if you can teach them, we can, train them faster. But otherwise, they're just templating everything and putting in through."
I think one of the examples I want to give you in animation, you only create those number of frames that are required because otherwise it's very expensive. It's in live action today because of the digital ecosystem. When it was on the film, it was very costly to shoot and you cannot do excess. Today, because of the digital garbage that you create, you shoot as many number of times and then you want to take the best out of it. And people feel that's editing. That's not actually. In animation, you have to edit your story 1,000 times before you are going to put that, because in the pre-production and your storyboarding and the animatic that you create, in the line drawing, you will be able to see the whole film of 100 minutes into 60 seconds into 24 frames per second. And that needs to be constantly edited at that level and made sure that you have a sharp story that is coming out. And the first edit starts in the story, the second edit is in the animatic, and when the storyboard is put together, and the third edit that happens in the final film. So that's the difference. If you are able to follow that grammar, you will not fall apart.
Yeah, I think animation works the reverse, right? You do the dubbing first and then
Yeah, so after the script, the first thing is the actors have to come and act the voices out. And those voices are heard to do the storyboard also. And those voices are, with the headphones, the animators also animate with using the same voice. So the voice happens first, not the last.
Thank you, sir. As we are talking about animation, we will move to Gauravji.
Anji.
Sir, just wanted to check with you because you are a professor and you teach animation today.
Yes.
And how does studies integrate design thinking and the approach and the enhancing student learning?
Okay. So this is my personal point of view. Design thinking has always been there. In making a film. But before we talk about design thinking, let us understand the difference between an artist and a designer. When you are, and that will lead to the discussion what we're going to have about the design thinking. So as an artist, you work for yourself. But as a designer, you're working for somebody else. Okay. So when you are talking about design thinking in cinema, it helps a lot to a commercial cinema rather than art cinema. Because when you empathize towards your audience, when you figure out what they want, what they need and everything, right, and then you of course prototyping, animatic, storyboard, ये सब आप करते हो, and then you reach to a conclusion of making a cinema. So rather than just making a cinema, you're actually designing an experience which is going to impact to the targeted audience. So I think design thinking is always been there in a different way, but it is a very important tool when you want to make a cinema for dedicated audience, and that is where learning design thinking is very helpful when you want to conceive films which will communicate to mass and audience. Yeah.
Hello. Prakash and I have been talking about, I think, design, memory, and a lot of pedagogy in our last, from years of collaborating with each other. And Prakash comes from a very huge theatre background, and that's what I wanted to talk. I wanted to ask Prakash about how studies, especially in pedagogy and theatre, moves into the memory and telling stories. If you can talk a little bit of that.
Yeah, thank you. That was the idea was that I was going to give that as a lecture, but I told him that because this is going to be a very useful panel for you. I thought I won't take that time. I'll just make it very short. I'm going to repeat also what I just said, at a book release function 3 or 4 days ago. I was struck by one idea that, if you take away your memory, who are you? When you're no longer able to identify yourself. There's a very good bit in the Robert Ludlum story, not the movie, in the Born Identity, the first one. The story is that he's lost all memory, and he's sitting on a ship. Some doctor has operated on him and he's recovered from whatever he had gone through, but he has no memory. And then there is a fight, and he suddenly, he has muscle memory. He gets up and he actually beats up people. And then he begins to worry that he's a bad person. Otherwise, how did he know how to beat up people like that? Is what he thinks, okay? It's a fascinating thing. The first thing about amnesia was, there's a James Hilton story. I forget, I keep thinking it's called Lost Horizon, but I think that may be the Shangri-La story. I'm not sure which one it is, Hilton's. He has amnesia. I was 14 years old when I read it. It was just like a shocking idea to me that somebody can lose their memory. They don't know who they are. There's a book called Tightrope Men, I think, by Desmond Bagley, in which he comes in the morning. See, many of you who make short films, first you'll think of actually shooting in front of the mirror, brushing your teeth kind of thing. It's really important. See why you want to do that. Think about it, okay? Anyway, he goes and to brush his teeth and he can't recognize the reflection. He does not realize who is that person in the reflection, he thinks. It is a very fascinating thing. And I said that in the book release function because I said, when you don't have memory, if somebody tells you this is who you are, okay, and they create enough what you call corroborating evidence, you'll accept that that is who you are, right? So what happens to civilizational memory, I asked. If you, in a civilization, if there is a systemic or not systemic effort to remove your memory, and don't treat it as a political question, just treat it as a psychological, personal question. If your memory has been erased, and somebody says, this is your history, this is what happened to you, then what happens? You begin to say you accept it to a very large extent, especially if you go to school and college. You'll be free if you don't do that. But once you go, somebody tells you, and a big conflict comes when you'll get a filmmaker or a storyteller who come and say, no, this is not how it was at all. Something else happened. And all hell breaks loose because, it's just like that dismantling of identity or reconstruction of identity is fraught with all kinds of problems. So, in conclusion, this was going to be the lecture, okay? So, in conclusion, I'm saying, the only way you can be original is to tell your story. And it will be unique to you. I used to think we should make, political films and, tell great messages and, really no. You can use that. But the thing is, you can only tell an authentic story from your experience. Okay? And in the effort of actually telling a true, honest, gripping story, you will actually evoke your dormant memory. Now, what is dormant memory? You remember all the stupid pain that has happened to you. Actually, in the large scheme of things, what has happened to you is really trivial most times. It's really nothing. Maybe what you've done to others is much bigger. And and what's happened to your neighbor or a friend or somebody you don't know, people who appear in stories on television or in newspapers, ghastly things have happened to them. Those stories are big. And there may have been moments when you feel, like we say, Ayo Papa, There may have been moments like that. And if you can actually, in your effort, in your search, you can actually pull those memories out, then you can tell stories of scale and significance that will impact the lives of other people. So I feel the new education, because we need to go back, because whatever you say, technology is a very major input in moving images. And the use of new technology will completely change the possibilities of filmmaking. And if you don't embrace those new possibilities and work, because you can ask the question, why do I need AI? I've got actors and I've got a set, I've got everything, I can do this. You can do it, but you can do it better if you can embrace the technology. That's it. So I'll just close that question at that. If you ask me something else, I'll say, but you had some question on theatre, you come to it later. But right now, this is it. New education in storytelling, whether it's theatre or cinema, it has to be that you should do a critical inquiry about yourself. If you know yourself best, you can tell unique stories that nobody else can do. This is what I'll say. Okay?
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you. Dr. Piyush, I have visited your campus and I've met many of your students. Very interestingly, I see that you are adapting curriculums which are happening like yesterday. Means what innovations are bringing or announced, you're already talking about it bringing as a course. I was very amazed on how you are looking and talking about it and bringing it alive. And for example, you have a course on prompt engineering, which will help your students. What are these curriculum representations you are trying to bring in with, and what is the diversity you are trying to bring in with cinema studies in your course, if you can talk about it?
Sure. Going back to the image that you talked, so the question that the Queen asked me was, how do you teach Bollywood to British students? And that how is very important, because what can be done through various ways, but for that how you need the teacher and the human intervention. So I think that's the core of our curriculum, because we do offer programs that train future animators, filmmakers, actors, journalists, but they all have to do one common foundation. And where the foundation has courses like reading, writing, thinking, literature, philosophy, and also even this whole activity, like all our students are here, and we have turned it into a 2 credit module, because I think if they're doing a course in film curation, what they learn in the 4 days here, an entire semester can't do that. So this is, I think that's what curriculum of the future has to be, connective to the changes, and like just watching the films, that's such a huge training. When I first enrolled into my MSc Film Studies program, I know in FTII and all the film training institute is mandatory to watch a whole range of cinema. And that's part of the pedagogy. But even in a program like Film Studies, the first thing our program director asked was, what's your movie diet? 3, 5, no, you're not for this program. It has to be minimum 15. And so I did my MSc in Edinburgh. Every day they used to curate after hours. One day it would be European cinema, then Latin American cinema, then Hollywood. And so I kind of filled up the gap, and we started something like South Asian cinemas. And then it has run for 5 years now. So I think that's one thing, watching films. And this multidisciplinarity liberal arts foundation is, I think NEP also talks about that. We have courses like self-awareness, environmental awareness, and it's really tough sometimes to convince animation students, why am I supposed to study history and literature and all. But I think you can't escape history, as sir, you rightly pointed out. This whole thing about constantly revisiting, and more as we become a very visual generation, our documentaries are our future visual textbooks. They are the textbooks of the future. So,
Actually, I remember once we were discussing, and Prakash had mentioned, we'll teach history, not history of cinema. What will I do with history of cinema? I can watch it on a documentary. But history, if I read, I can write stories. So it was a very interesting thing. And Ashish sir, see, you have been in the space for last 30 years, especially in the animation, ABGC sector and VFX, especially now AI generation. And now the students' skill sets are changing, and you have also been in the skill development. What are these now? What kind of students are you looking? What are their skill set? What are you? How are you going to now? Like I think Piyush sir was saying, engineering students are saying we don't want to do engineering. We want to do AI developed courses. Now the skill sets are changing. I know you said the core is to have going back to learning what is the basic skill, but what are your thoughts on that now?
So I think what has happened to India after the NEP 2020, and I was a part of NEP, is very important. We never gave marks to creative arts, performing arts, design and sports in the school education. We still don't give. NEP is mandated it, but we are struggling to make it happen. It is mandated from the 6th grade onwards. Many state curriculums have not adopted to it. People who are in opposition, they say that we are not going to adopt NEP. And I think I wonder a lot that the students are going to miss out. This is a chance where the creative arts, performing arts, sports and design is going to be at par with science and commerce. Why only science and commerce? And even if we had arts, it was about literature, economics, philosophy, psychology, nothing beyond that. So this is the first time that we need to deal with students in the school first. The foundation has to be right in the school. We need to get them, and people are making a mistake by saying that we are going to teach them gaming or animation in the school. It's not required. The issue is that that's a derivative. You need to get them to look at things, do things better. According to me, the education, if it doesn't change, the students will fall out of education very strongly. What you are doing in K-12, students are today ready to deliver it in probably K-8. Because the life of the student's parents and the teacher has become miserable. Because when we were growing up, our parents exactly knew what information system we were exposed to. Today as a parent, the parent just doesn't know what information system the kids are exposed to. And many a times when the parents and teachers are talking to the students, they have already grabbed that knowledge from somewhere else and they are trying to judge whether they are right or wrong. And it becomes a very peculiar situation in every house or even in the classrooms today. At the same time, many things that we used to learn in the class is already given today when they actually are doing things and watching content or do anything and everything. At the same time, you need to also realize in parallel what is happening is that when we were kids, we used to read books, we used to read newspapers. Then we actually migrated to laptops and desktops, we used to read there. And now it's come to the cell phones. But now we don't want to read, we want to watch and understand. And that's where the videos, according to me, there are 3 V's which are going to control the communication in the next 5 to 10 years. The first V is the video, the second is the vernacular, and the third is the voice. And I'm saying voice because I have a cook who's come from Bihar, is with me for 20 plus years, has never gone to school at all, but is a fabulous cook. But when I asked him, where do you stay? He says, I stay 40 kilometers from Darbhanga, and he doesn't know how to type Darbhanga. So he gives a voice command. And he shows me how to read Darbhanga. So the issue is that we are in a world where a lot of transitions are happening. And how do you really get them to relate to all these transitions? The education system will have to really see that we will have to have teachers taking them to forest, teachers taking them to look at the animals. People in urbanization have not been exposed to the nature, what he's talking about, what has been mandated even in their sustainable studies and all. So if you really see and ask me what's going to be the future, like the technology, as sir is saying, has to be adopted, we need to only tell them what output you will get from what technology and they explore on their own. But what is good and what is not so good, what is aesthetically correct, what is not correct is what we need to teach them. And for that, your experiential learning and going out has to be more than anything else. You cannot go to a prototype education system where you have to give a 3 hours written exam and it's a standard for every single vertical. If an actor has to give a 3 hour written exam, animator has to give a 3 hour written exam, they are going to fail. Because they have to perform and show. And if their performance is liked by audience, then they should get marks according to that. The issue is that we will have to change the framework. We will also have to change the timelines that the students are getting graduation and post-graduation or whatever. So I feel that kids born in the world after 2000 are global citizens by itself, and they have an exposure to the medium. And we just recently because I come from the advertising background and I used to teach with Micah. I was the CEO of Mudra Communication before coming in animation. And we do an analysis of viewership and the readership. Recently when we did a survey we were surprised to see that the kids in the rural area have same inspiration as the kids in the urban area. They want to watch the same ads, they want to watch the same films. Their inspiration levels are absolutely the same. And this has been happening because of the penetration of mobile phones, internets and everything. India is a very unique country. We have 600 million smartphone users today. Will be 900 million by December 26. And that gives a whole lot of access to whole lot of things. We have 34 crore kids into the schools and the university ecosystem, which is a sizable amount.
Yes.
And that whole ecosystem is just the education system that we have is just not geared to look at the needs and the creativity that they possess because of where they are born and what they're doing. Now we need to really see how do we channelize that properly and where the intervention of technology is going to be important and where it's not. It is going to be inevitable not to have technology being used, as Sir said. It has to be used because all outputs are going to be like that. But how do you really make sure that you also make it commercially viable? How do you make it interesting? Because there are many stories. How your stories are going to be remembered is going to be the key. And I think that's where we need to build a differentiator.
Very nice. Very nice. I think, as you mentioned, it's going to be a level playing field across now. Not
We're struggling. We want, means all creative people, like including Sir, the amount of struggle for the last 2-3 decades. Even you, who have been actually pushing the agenda, it's not easy. But at least today, you have been able to convince your Prime Minister, your Minister, to talk about animation gaming from the Red Fort. It's a different thing altogether. Today, they recognize this as an industry.
And Waves itself.
Waves itself is a big statement.
absolutely, absolutely. It's a very big statement. I think I not only request, but I think you should attend the next waves because I attended it. It is going to be one ground where a lot of creators, people who can support creativity and funders, producers, everybody is going to be on one platform. And it's one space where you can meet them face to face, you can pitch in your ideas, you can talk about your stories. And I think it's a big creative field which is being done.
You'll be given funds as well, and
Yeah.
if your ideas.
Yes. I think most importantly, in the last 5 years, we've been able to convince the government to put funds for co-productions, for productions,
Fantastic.
for incubating ideas to
Yeah.
product level, and to also have an additional fund to pitch those ideas at the national forums and the international forums.
Right.
So I think the environment is improving for our kids, and they need to make it happen now.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. While you were talking, I remembered one conversation we were having, and once somebody asked, I think Prakash only mentioned, how do you test a singer? Asking them to sing. That's the only way you can know that person can perform. So yeah, I think Gauravji, I wanted to ask you about how is the rise on the new media formats, like the web series, the VR, the AR, the AI, and how is your system and in your space dealing with that?
So we have to live with the fact that cinema is no longer, dark room experience, which it used to be. It is spread across a lot of different platforms. I mean, people have access over the phone. It's spread it to their headphones. It spread it to their headset devices and everything. And who knows? There are going to be more things coming up. So in fact, OTT platforms and the way cinema is being consumed nowadays has kind of 3 layers from my point of view. One is it has changed the way cinema or the content is created, very importantly. Because pehle kaisa tha ki you have like a movie, the guy is going to sit there throughout that 1.5, 2 hours, so you can work on 3 acts, this, that. But now when you talk about episodic, like what sir was saying, you have to do that on the episodic basis to keep your audience engaged throughout your... So creation is going to change. The grammar of creating cinema is going to change. In fact, if you check Netflix demands for 3x structure per episode. So it's something. It is pretty much the same what it was, but it has to be recut and reshaped to meet this requirement. Second is how it is consumed, because like I said, you have OTT platforms and you have. In fact, there is one more thing, new thing coming up. It's called open theater, right? So even in Netflix and Amazon, you get the subscription, and then whatever content is there, you go through that thing whether you like it or not, right? So but there are people, one of my friend Anand is working on this open theater where you actually pay for what you want to watch rather than paying for a subscription. So the way cinema and content is consumed, that is also changing. And thirdly, and very importantly, the horizon has expanded. Back in the days, if I'm making a movie, for example, for my local audience, then it remains local. But nowadays, because of internet and everything, it can be accessed. In fact, I was having a chat with this guy, Karthik, and he shared very interesting experience. He made a. Did any of you attended his workshop, Karthik?
The animation
Karthik
workshop.
Mahajan. So what he said was his film didn't do like well in India, but surprisingly it did really well in Russia, and it did really well in Italy. So people from there got connected. So you have a very expanded horizon when it comes to your audience base. So there are challenges, yes. Maybe you never know what kind of new things or platforms, like what sir said, even phone is gonna vanish. You'll have just the glasses and sting and then just enjoy the movie and everything. So it is a challenge, but if we keep faith in the foundation, how cinema has evolved over the period of years, just trim it and like shape it for the requirement of the current industry, I'm sure it's going to go forward. And it needs to be done from the education system itself. Rather than it being just a talk, people and I would request you, sir, to do that, because you are the one who are communicating with government about our industry and everything. So it needs to be rethought out a little bit, but yeah, challenges are there. Yeah.
Thank you. Last two questions and we'll open to the audience. Piyush sir, you have collaborated with Hombale, and a production house, and which is collaborating with an education institution. This is a very unique thing where that your students get to not only go to see the actual cinema set, get into the process, and they are going to also be part of your curriculum. So what is this collaboration, and what are the new things which you are getting involved in cinema studies today?
So, I guess Kumbhale doesn't need any introductions in this space. Now, but the discussion came forth from this idea that there are many technicians in Kumbhale who are very famous. They've been working for years. But how do they adapt to the new grammar? So they wanted some place where the technicians can go for a short training, get into the space of what's happening globally. I mean, just to give a simple example, if we look at the narrative format in a feature, the standard structure is you have a plot, you have a character, and then comes the setting. OTT is just the opposite. The setting is more important, then comes the characters, and the plot can completely change depending on which character is popular in which season, some new plot devices. So these kind of things. So that's how the conversation began. What do we do with that? The other thing was that then we thought, like, for students who are working, it's a great help to be associated with a studio. You get from getting the used props to taking them. So we had taken all the students to the sets of Kantara, the Kantara 2, and it was amazing to see how they recreated an entire landscape of huts, and there were 150 people, cast and crew staying there, and the whole tam jam of it. So I think that also gives them an idea about the scale of production and how big the industry is, and that it is not just the one or two people who we see in the front, the whole thing. So I think for a studio that's a great thing, and for us as a school having a studio which is making these continuous productions. It's a great place to go and learn. So yeah, that's how it happened, and now they are also very keen on looking at the. So our students have the opportunity when they doing their graduation film to go and pitch. So and then if they make the cut, then they get funded to make the film. So that's how it actually started. But I think it's a great model, and we have also requested that whatever props they're using, and once they're done, instead of just binning it, give it to us, to our own productions and stuff like that. So that's how they started, but it's going, we're still discovering what all new things
Yeah.
can be done.
Excellent. Actually, one of the things I can also ask, which we have spoken, is they're building a huge studio space in their school, and they're going to open it to short film makers to come and explore if you want to shoot there and work with collaboration with the university. I think it's a great opportunity. From the festival, we will definitely work with this and announce it to you. That's the last question before we open to the audience.
Also, there is just one more. So we have a film festival going on. So our trust has agreed that this year onwards, the filmmakers who won, they get full scholarship to come and study. So the idea is
Excellent.
that our master's program and all. So and maybe you could explore the same thing.
Absolutely.
With
Absolutely.
BISFF also.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I think that's a great thing. Probably by next year we will start doing that. Prakash, my question is, what do you say to these inspiring filmmakers about how the landscape is changing today? And you have been looking at these kids who are, and you work with many of them actually in your work. What do you like to tell them?
See, mainly I want to tell you that I have receded from wanting to tell stories through movies. Because I find theatre a lot more interesting to do the stories I want to do. Because it requires much less begging, for money, for audiences and, stuff like that. It's just like, there's more dignity, I feel. I don't even watch my own films. But I still love films. If there is something that, if I can get a bunch of young people to go and watch together and discuss it, I would still love to do it. I want to tell you the main difference between the cinematic medium and say the theatre medium, for instance. See, cinema is a recorded medium, okay? And the structure of monetizing cinematic products is so rigid at the moment. It'll get dismantled. It'll soon unravel. But the thing is, it's so rigid. It allows very little scope for recording again. To do a. Say I do amateur theatre. There's a short story by Sri Ramaya, which we adapted over 4 days. And on the 7th day, we did a show for Unboxing Bangalore last year. And it was that we got a standing ovation. We hadn't even completed all the lines correctly, but we said it's a work in progress. Over the next 7 shows, because it became very popular, I kept changing the script. And then it settled after the 7th show. The script remains now. Now I'm doing this play Parvada. We have done 70 shows. 57 shows I had done Rangayana. It was a state repertory. They took it everywhere. I couldn't control that much. But in India, not just NEP, when the government changes, all the cultural preferences of the government also change. So the government stopped, the repertory stopped doing the play. So from our own group, which Anand is also a part of, Center for Film and Drama, we remounted the production. And we have done 8 plus 5, 13 shows of it now. And I have changed it. We do 3 shows, 2 shows at a time kind of thing. I've changed it. Actors change. Interpretation changes. There was this little bit I tried to describe to Ashish ji, on a scene in it. That thing I did only 3 days ago because the new set of actors have come and I realized I can do it like that. That is more exciting to me. The reason I'm saying this is that cinema has got huge possibilities, technologically enabled possibilities. In the future, in my opinion, cinema will become extremely big in one area that maybe nobody in this room is thinking of sitting on that side. I know people here have thought of it. You know, it will be used for distance medicine, to teach film itself, to teach science, to teach maths, to try cases that courts have to try. Cinema will be used. The technology of cinema will be used. Because there are, say for instance, 50 million cases pending before Indian courts. If it is based on prior knowledge, All India reference and case laws that the Supreme Court itself has decided, amendments made and previous CRPC, Civil Procedure Code, bookkeeping laws, AI with large language models will do it. In the third second, it will start printing a judgment for you. If it can do it for all the cases, and then only for appeals you go to the courts, a lot of problems will be solved. So I think the future of cinema is, I feel, elsewhere. It is also therein in telling your stories. But the paradox of it is that the technological possibilities of cinema, there is a danger of pushing humans out of it. If you do stories exactly like you did before, if you want to have Harrison Ford again as a young, Indiana Jones, then, I'm sorry to hurt you. Somebody walked out of the room at a party because I said, there is no young Harrison Ford. It's technology. But because that lady was a fan, she said, I don't want to listen to bullshit. And she walked away. But if you want to watch, say, Dr. Rajkumar or Dilip Kumar or something, it is possible. And it'll work. 180 pages Milton Boone novel or, thing can happen again and again, It can happen with the actors you want, of your choice. You can go and watch the film you want with the actors of your choice. You can have, I always keep telling Anand, we should explore this idea that we can get an NFT or something from Steven Spielberg. And in Kannada, he does filmmaking courses at Suchitra on this screen. Completely possible, Yeah. So what I'm saying is, it is because of the technological possibility that those of you who want to become filmmakers to tell stories, you should worry. But if you know the skill, you'll be much in demand because it will be applied everywhere, in every aspect of life. I always tell Anand that one wall of the house, it will not be one wall having a TV set, or a screen. One wall will be a digital video wall. And you can talk to dead people, You'll not miss them at all, You can talk to dead people in distant places. You can talk to actors of your choice. You can be a fan, and the AI versions of the actors can talk to you. Like that it will be. It's like mind-boggling, different it will become. So what I think you should prepare for is that you must first embrace the technology and learn. There is no way out of it. Don't kid yourself. Never, if there is a course that comes in the future as AI studies or something, surely they will do it. Those who have done humanities, no offense meant, okay? But you'll think of, digital media studies and all that you'll do. Just no use. You have to learn it. You have to figure it out, okay? You have to learn it. I was thinking of a short story, just as that came to my mind just as we were discussing. We had in National High School, we had a course on drawing. It was a very different kind of school those days. And we never gave it any attention. We were not interested in drawing. And there were boys before the teacher came who'd go and draw completely strange stuff on the walls. There was one student friend of mine called Ramesh, C.S. Ramesh, very good. He would do very good drawings, And he would, as soon as he walked in, he would get angry at the drawings to the drawing teacher. Actually, he was not so skilled. But he was teaching drawing. It doesn't have to be skilled. The short story is that he gets angry with the student first, and then he uses the student to illustrate. He says, he talks the theory. and the student illustrates. Basically, it must be led by the the potential of actually expressing it, not theorizing it. In which I think all of us seem to be in agreement here. So first learn the skill, intuit, go back in your life and think of experiences that happened and see if that can inform it and make it more sensitive and better. And then listen to a master or a guru who will say, you could have done this better had you done this, and because that person will explain. And that is how you learn theory on it, I'm saying. I'll tell you one short story and stop, very short one. In Reader's Digest, in those days when we thought Reader's Digest was a very good thing to read, we used to get it at home. I think I've read every month Reader's Digest for some 16 or 17 years, and I matured very late because of that, because completely one-sided rubbish used to come in there, which we didn't know before. See, that's what happens when you don't know history. You'll believe anything that's told to you. But they used to have these short snippets of personal stories in it. And in one story, and it's so beautiful, see, in one story, there is a man who's invited a friend to his house, and they're discussing in front of the fireplace, they're having drinks. And the child runs into a 6-year-old child runs into the space. And the father is irritated because he is talking to a friend, and the child is a nuisance. He calls out to his wife too, And the child has got a question, because it's asking, how does wood burn? That's the question. How does the wood burn? Because it's giving heat and flame. The father has no patience to answer it. Actually, he doesn't know how to answer it. That's the reason. But he has no patience. He says, get out, I asked a teacher once in 5th standard, why does rain not pour out of the end of the cloud? Why does it all come together at once? And the teacher made me stand outside the classroom, So the father gets angry, but the visitor says, come and sit, and he puts the child on his lap and he says, the sun is there. It actually, light comes from the sun, and it goes into the tree, and goes into the wood. And when the tree dies, and it goes into the ground after many years, but the heat stays in it. It becomes powder, it becomes pieces, it becomes coal, but it still stays in it. So whether it's wood or coal, it will stay in it. And then when you take it and then you burn it, because it's taken so much heat and it's taken so much light, it gives out the light and it gives out the heat. Broadly, very scientific, that is. But it's told as a story. Now if you can tell this kind of thing, this kind of examples, it will be much better storytelling in education, than what we're getting in classrooms, which we dreaded. So think about it. It's a completely new world. It is possible, it's a dangerous thing to say, but it is possible that what you learn in your formal education will be of really no use to you at all. Okay? The only thing that will be useful is maybe if you have learnt English, it's useful to access information for some time now. Good translation will happen and you'll be able to access in the language of your choice. See, literacy and illiteracy are artificial things. It's only because you invented the alphabet that illiteracy is there. Otherwise, what does illiteracy mean? It doesn't mean anything else. Okay. So, if you had given access to everybody would have been literate. It was denied to some people. If I don't give you a cell phone, then you'll think you're stupid. That's how silly it is to make this. So think about this. Think about really learning as you're sitting, as you're talking on the phone. Look at all its possibilities and wonder how it can do what it is doing. Wonder. Don't say I don't like maths. Okay? If you wonder, you can ask somebody who knows maths, who will tell you, just as that visitor told the child what it is. Somebody can tell you. Be curious and keep learning, because what you know, what gadgets you know, what softwares you learn, all that may become obsolete in maybe 2 years, 3 years from here on. So be prepared to always prepare, So There is no end point of education. Now I have a certificate. Don't worry about the certificate anymore.
Thank you, Prakash. I just want to also tell that the play he did, Parva, was 9 hours. So it was not a small one. So it's again, I think, just promote that also. It's happening again in September. So please.
5th, 6th, and 7th. Come and sit for 9 hours and see if you can make a 9-hour movie and make people sit.
Thank you. I think I remember once we had gone to meet Anand Murthy and he said when the person invented the first alphabet, the other became an illiterate. So I'd like to open for questions and if anybody has some thoughts or questions.
Like I said, there are no stupid questions.
Yes. Nobody wants to go into cinema studies?
I'll tell you why. One of the things that we are battling with is the nomenclature of the degrees that we have. We have Bachelor of Fine Arts. I'm on the academic council with FTI for the second time now. But I didn't understand, there's a film and television. What is television got to do with it? Whatever you make for television is also film. Yes. Yes. Second is that, you have Bachelor of Arts, you have Bachelor of Science, and you're not able to grow out of that. We've recently told the UGC that we need Bachelor of Creative Arts and Sciences. And you need to combine arts and sciences together to make some sense. Graphic arts and sciences, storytelling art and sciences. So you are able to bring in a legitimacy to the whole thing. And then they said that how does that really work? And then I had to search for the whole analogy and give them analogy that, the most popular programs right now are BBA and MBA. And I asked them what is the full form of a BBA and MBA. Can anybody tell?
Bachelor of Business Administration.
And Masters of Business Administration. So you are becoming an administrator. You have nothing to do with management. Somebody in the West has fooled you and you are just getting fooled. Whereas UGC in 70s and 80s had a very nice nomenclature which is still existing. It's called Bachelor of Management Studies and Master of Management Studies. That should be the true management degree. So I think what we need to do is to really think, although Prakash sir has told you in my experience hiring people in my studio also, the degrees didn't matter at all. If they can do traditional art form, anything can be taught to them because they know the basics. And I think that's very, very important.
Sir, I want to share a small anecdote which gives a lead to the question. So, I think a few months ago, there was an image shared in the WhatsApp and there was a prompt given to a image generator, Mother Teresa fighting poverty. Right? And then image was generated where Mother Teresa is physically abusing poor people. That's the image generator. And then this was shared in the WhatsApp. And then one friend was very happy that if this is the level of AI, we are very safe, we can survive. One more friend reacted to that saying that if this image was shown to a kid who was born post 2000, he will give more credit to the AI and then believe that is the truth. He will not believe me, who knows the real life experience. So how do we reconcile this? So that argument was very, very thought provoking for me. So how do we reconcile this?
So that was exactly what I was saying. The foundation has to be right. Unless and until your foundation is right, you don't know what is right and what is wrong. But don't get carried away by that because AI is going to rewrite itself every single day. And what it couldn't do 2 years ago, it will start doing now. And it will improve upon that, it will beat you very badly. Okay, what we didn't talk about right now is again virtual production. So people think that a lot of jobs are going to be gone, but a lot of jobs are also going to be created if you adopt what Prakash sir said, that you need to adopt to it every single time, and you have to be prepared to learn every single time. And as long as you keep that thing going in you, the things would definitely happen for you, and things will get obsolete for people who are not adopting to it.
Thank you.
See, you get these videos of Trump talking, Trump and Modi singing, Naga Moo Moo and all that you get. Do you believe it? You don't believe it because you have credible other information which makes you critically inquire about this and say it's not. So basically, if you have learning from experience, from connecting to your society, learning not in isolation to score great marks, but learning what your society is, where you live. See, you should all know where your clothes come from, where the cotton is grown, why the farmer is getting a certain rate for the cotton, and why does he kill himself, and how much you pay for it. There's a connection. If there is a dyes put on the shirts that you're wearing, or clothes that you're wearing, or the sari that you're buying, if the dye goes into the river and the river is actually getting poisoned with heavy metal and all that, it should bother you. You can't learn in silos. You can't tell stories about other people if you don't know other people. Okay? The thing is, you should connect. You should care. A storyteller fundamentally needs empathy. You should care about others. Your heart should be filled with love to tell a story. Otherwise, this is not the correct thing, Investment banker, very good. But not this,
Yeah. Okay, I think we are also getting into the next session, so we'll close this session. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you, panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful day. Thank you very much.